Good morning, students. I hope you are doing well during the lockdown period. So, as far as basic civil and mechanical engineering subject, already I completed 3 units from mechanical engineering part. So, remaining we have 2 units from civil engineering part. So, in that, now we are seeing about the unit 1 from civil engineering. So, namely surveying and civil engineering materials. So, before going to this topic, we must know why we are studying civil engineering as a part of your syllabus. So, civil engineers are an integral part of a society. Without them, we would have no roads, airports, buildings, dams, harbors, etc. So for that we must know the fundamentals about the civil engineering. That is why we are included in your syllabus. So in this unit 1, first in this presentation we must see about the surveying. So what is meant by surveying? So it is a process of measuring the horizontal distances, vertical distances, or maybe angles to determine the location of points on the earth surfaces. It may be above the earth surfaces or maybe below the earth surfaces, but we must know where it is. So it is only based upon the earth surfaces. That is known as this term is known as surveying. So it is also known as an representation of surface features in a horizontal plane. It is known as surveying. So the term leveling, it is also related to the surveying, but the only difference is here the leveling we are only determining from the relative heights, as it already indicated in the figure. So we are having 2 scales, left and right. In between we are having one level indicator. So based upon this only we are determining the heights of the different grounds level of earth surfaces. Okay. So next, the objectives of surveying. So here what is the importance of the surveying? Why we need to study the surveying? So here the main importance of surveying is used to prepare plan or map showing the ground features. So if you want to prepare some plan or a map, we must know surveying. So that is why this is the main importance of surveying. So with the help of this plan or a map, we are doing the engineering related work, like making of buildings or maybe roads or maybe railway tracks, bridges, dams. So everything it is comes under only with the help of plan or map. So there is some difference between the plan or map. So here when the area surveyed is small and the representation, that is the graphical representation or maybe the scale to which the result plotted is large, then it is known as a plan. So generally the plan is a orthographic representation of features on or near earth on a horizontal plane. So here in the plan we are not considering any earth curvatures. So we are not taking into account for the plan. So it is only preferable for the smaller areas for the surveying purpose. So if it is coming under map, It is also a graphical representation of futures, or maybe objects, or maybe some buildings, or maybe some lands. When the scale is small and it is constructed using a projection system. So here the area surveyed is large and the scale to which result plotted is small. Then it is called as map. So the main division of surveying. So the main division in the sense how we are taking this as a process. So here the concept of surveying, since the shape of the earth is spheroidal, the line connecting any 2 points on the earth surface is not a straight line but a curve. So it's the real fact. We are considering 2 points on earth surfaces, but normally we are measuring the 2 points with the help of that in terms of linear distance or maybe a angular distance, but we are not considering it is a curve. But in real practice, if you are connecting any 2 points on the earth surfaces, is not a straight line. So the types of surveying is, there are 2 types of surveying. One is the plane surveying, another one is the geodetic surveying. So there are only 2 types of surveying. So in that plane surveying, so here the effect of curvature of earth is neglected. In the sense, we are not considering the effect of curvature. Why? Because the earth's surface is spherical, but we are not considering the effect of curvature. Then it is known as plane surveying. So we are considering the earth as a horizontal surfaces. Okay. So if you are not considering the curvature, effect of curvature, then the accuracy or maybe a precision of this surveying is comparatively low. At the same time, it is only conducted for a small area that is less than 260 square meter. Then it is known as a plane surveying. If you need to survey more than 260 square meter, then it is coming under geodetic surveying. Okay. So this plane surveying is conducted only for the purpose of doing the engineering projects. So for constructing dams or maybe buildings, whatever it may be, it is coming under the engineering projects. Then geodetic surveying, just it is opposite to the plane surveying. So here we need to consider the effect of curvature, or if you are making surveying for a particular point or maybe a land, you are considering the effect of curvature because the earth surface is spherical. So if you are considering the effect of curvature, then it is known as a geodetic surveying. So if you ask why we need to consider this kind of curvature, so for getting high precision accuracy or maybe high precision dimension, we need to consider the effect of curvature. So this is coming under how it is possible means this is coming under the trigonometrical surveying. So it is already adopted by the Great Trigonometrical Survey Department of India, GTS. Okay. So next one, classification. So the classification is depending upon the different categories. That is, first one, the classification based upon the nature of field survey. So in the field survey, that is land surveying, marine or navigation or hydrographic surveying. Then third one, astronomical surveying. So this is the classification of surveying under the nature of field survey. The next one, the classification based on the object of survey. So first one is engineering surveys. So engineering surveys in the sense military surveys or engineering surveys, then military surveys, mine surveys, geological surveys, archaeological surveys. So then next main classification, it is based upon the instruments used. So based upon the instrument used, we are segregating different types. It is chain surveying, theodolite surveying, transfer surveying, triangulation surveying, tachometric surveying, plane table surveying, photographic surveying, aerial surveying, compass surveying, cadastral surveying. So these are the basic and different types of classification of surveying based upon the instruments we are used. But in your syllabus we are already limited some portions, so no need to worry about all these types or classifications. So we are considering only 2 or 3 as a major part. Okay. So in that classification of surveying, that is a land surveying. So this is it is coming under nature of field survey. That is here the figure shows we are surveying the surface of the land. So the land survey is a one in which the relative points are an object on the earth surface is determined. So survey is the process of measuring the distance. So here we are measuring the distance of lands. That is why it is known as land surveying. So next one, marine or navigational or hydrographic surveying. So here it is also determining or measuring the distance under water. That is why it is known as marine surveying. So we need to determine the position or some other object, that is some other relative objects under the water. If you are determining under the water, then it is known as marine or navigational or hydrographic surveying. So the next one, astronomical surveying. So it is only considered the heavenly bodies such as sun or moon or stars. So we are also capable of measuring the distance between these bodies. So this is coming under astronomical surveying. So next one, topographical surveying. So this is used for measuring the distance or maybe angles of the natural and artificial features of the country such as rivers, lakes, hills and canals. These are all coming under topographical survey. So next one, principles. So already we know the surveying is nothing but measurement or determining the distances. Here we are following some principles to determine the distances. So we are having two principles. We are having generally two principles to determine the or measuring the distances. First one, to work from whole to part. That is, a number of control points are fixed in the area concerned by adopting very accurate and precise method. So in the sense, here we are considering only a small part to determine its dimension. So that is why we are making the number of control points. So if you are having a rod of 20 meter long, so we are having or we are generating different control points at 1 meter apart. So we can identify easily the distance or the distance of both the control points. So it is having only the 1 meter distance. So likewise here we are making the control points at a smaller area, and we are adding all the small points. We have the big number. Okay, so other measurements are made to locate the points and inside these control lines. Thus main triangles and transfers are formed first. So here, so it is also we are dividing in terms of triangles. So from the triangles we can easily measure the distances. So here the survey work is started from a part, that is smaller triangle. So we are not considering the whole part as a future. We are segregating, or we are dividing the whole part into a smaller number of pieces. Then we are determining the distances. Hence any survey work should be from whole to part, not from the part to work. So this is the first principle of surveying. Then principle 2. So it is to locate the position of a point by measurement of 2 reference points. Whatever it may be, we need to locate a new point. With the help of the reference points, we are making some new points. This is the principle behind this surveying. So normally we are having 3 figures, figure 1, figure 2 and figure 3. So here the reference points is in the sense P and Q. So we are having the P and Q as a reference point. We need to locate the new point R. For locating the point R, we need L1 and L2. Otherwise we need theta 1 and theta 2, or otherwise L1 and theta 1. Okay, so this is the second principle of the surveying. So as per the principle 2, the location of a new point involves one of the following, that is a measurement of 2 distances, measurement of 2 angles, and measurement of 1 angle and 1 distances. So it is already indicated in the figures 1, 2 and 3. The same figure we are reflected in the same this slide, that is from figure 1. It shows the method of locating R with a reference to a known length PQ by using the known distances PR. It is represented with the help of L1, and QR it is represented with the help of L2. So for the figure 2, it also shows the method of locating R point with reference to the same PQ, but here we don't have the lengths L1 and L2, but we are having the theta 1 and theta 2, that is angle between the QPR and PQR, that is theta 1 and theta 2. So based upon these 2 angles, we are also having we are also generating the point R. For the figure 3, it shows the method of locating R with reference to the same known length PQ by using the known distance L1. Sometime it may be if you are having L2, if you need theta 2, that is the difference. So anyway, if you have a length and angle, any one length and any one angle, so it representing the new points. This is also the one of the principle of surveying, that is the second principle of surveying, to locate the position of a point by measurement from 2 reference points. Okay, then the measurement of distances. So there are 2 main methods of determining the distances between 2 points on the surfaces. So from previous slide, we are having PQ, PR and QR. So all the lengths, but we need to measure the distance between the points P and Q, or maybe P and R. So how we are determining the distance between the points, or this is known as the distance between the 2 points. So here we are having two methods. So one is direct method, another one is computative method. So from a direct method, so we can easily determine the distances with the help of tapes or maybe chains. So normally we are using the same kind of measuring the distances with the help of the tapes or chains. Computative, so this is coming under some calculations, that is distance are obtained by calculation using the triangulation or tachyometry principles. Okay, so these are the basic methods for determining the distance between the 2 points. Next one, so already we seen the chain surveying, or maybe tapes. So it is a direct method for determining the distance between the 2 points with the help of chain. It is known as chain surveying. So here with the help of the chain surveying, we need to measure the distance between the 2 points, right? So in chain surveying, only the linear distances on the fields are measured. So this is only particularly used for the linear distance, so not for the angular distance. Okay, so these distances are used to define the boundary of field and mark simple details. It is also to form a network of triangles by using the distance measured. Better accuracy will be obtained if the triangles thus formed are nearly equilateral in shape. So what are all the accessories used in the chain surveying? So we are having a different accessories used in the chain surveying for determining the distances. So first one, metric chain. So metric chain pins are also known as arrows. It is also known as arrows. And measuring tape, wrangling rod and or offset rod, then cross staff. So these are the some of the accessories used in the chain surveying for determining the distances. So actually the chains are formed by straight links of galvanized mild steel wire bent into rings at the ends. So actually we are having the galvanized mild steel wire bent into the rings. So we are bent the galvanized mild steel into a rings at the ends. So why we are having these kind of rings? In the sense, just for segregating for a small distance. For example, so first from this figure, we are having the 5 meter lengthed chain. So normally the metric chains are available in the length of 5 meter, maybe a 10 meter, or maybe a 20 and 30 likewise. Okay, so we are having up to 30 meter metric chains. But for every 5 meter, we are having some provisions. Okay, for easily determining the distance. So that is why we are having the 5 meter provision. So normally in the case of 20 meter and 30 meter chains, brass tallies are provided at every 5 meter length, indicating the brass wire rings are attached at every meter length except where tallies are provided. So This is for only for 5 meter chain, but normally we are having up to 30 meter. Okay, so next figure, it shows around 20 meter metric chains. So in that, so it is clearly defined for the 5 meter lens. We are having some provisions for easily determining the length of the particular links. Okay, that is why we are providing these kind of provisions. So here the arrows. So what is that is chain pins or arrows. So what is the uses of arrows? There are 400 mm long and 4 meter diameter, 4 mm diameter. So it is also made up of a galvanized steel wire. Just it is used to mark the end of chain lengths. Okay, so that is why we are providing the arrows or chain pins. The purpose of the chain pin is just to used to mark the end of chain lengths. Okay, this is the main function of this chain pins. Okay, so this is the chain pin. So we are having the chain pin at every 5 meter. Okay, is for easily determining the distances. So the chain pins or arrows are used with the chain for making each chain length on the ground. So the overall length is 400 mm and the thickness or diameter is 4 mm. Okay, this is the purpose of chain pins. Then the tapes. So already it is also one of the measuring instrument for determining the distances. That is tapes. Normally we are using the tapes to determine the distance between the 2 points. So in that we are having different types of tapes. That is cloth or linen tape, metallic tape, steel tape, inbar tape. So normally we are using the metallic and the steel tapes. We are used for determining the distances. Next accessories in chain surveying is ranging rod. So here it is also known as a ranging pole or picket. So normally this ranging rod is used as an instrument for making the position of stations. So stations in the sense for surveying the distance from the different locations. That is known as here stations. For sighting those stations as well as for ranging the straight lines. So here we must know what is meant by ranging. So here the ranging is nothing but method of locating or establishing the intermediate points on a straight line between the two fixed points is called as ranging. So here we need to ensure these points. So we are having one rod called ranging rod. So normally the length of the ranging rod may be 2 meter or maybe 3 meter long. Its diameter is around 30 mm. Okay, so this is the rod, this is ranging rod. We are used for determining the intermediate points. So in that we are coloring the rod in two colors. So which is used to give the accurate position, or we can able to properly sight in case of long distances, or maybe for getting the different for getting the accurate dimension in case of different weather conditions. So that is why we are providing two colors, so namely red and white in an alternative band of 200 mm each. So just for providing the proper citation for a long distance. That is why we are giving the color difference. So next one, offset rod. So the name itself it is having the answer. It is an offsetted rod. So is there is a difference between the two leveling condition, then it is known as a offset. For example, if you need to survey a particular distance in a different level of earth surfaces, then it is known as offset. With the help of the offset rod we can survey the distances. Okay, so next one, cross staff. So this is also one of the accessories in this chain surveying. So the cross staff is an instrument used for setting out the right angles. So right angles in the chain surveying. So it consists of 4 metal arms with vertical slits mounted on a pole. So it consists of the 2 pairs actually. So the 2 pairs of vertical slides providing 2 lines of sight mutually at right angles. So it gives the particular process. Or next one, advantages and disadvantages of the chain surveying. The major advantages of this chain surveying, it is a simple surveying process. Easily we can determine the distances, that is linear distances from this method. At the same time, it does not require any costly equipment for determining the distances. So third one, it is adapted for preparing plans for small areas. So is there? It is also having the disadvantages. So namely, it cannot be used for large areas. So why? Because it is only we are considering the earth as a horizontal plane. So just it is used to draw only the plans. So if you need to draw the maps, so we are taking the curvature of the earth surface. So we are here we are not taking the account. That is why we are preparing only plans from this chain surveying. So second one, it cannot be used in the thick bushy areas with ups and downs. So it is difficult to determine these areas. Okay. So third one, chain surveying is not always accurate. So why? Because here we are considering the horizontal plane. That is why it is always giving the comparatively low performance when compared to the geodetic surveying. So these are some of the advantages and disadvantages of surveying. Next one, next topic is measurement of angles. So up to this we are seen about the measurement of distances. So now we move on to the measurement of angles. So in surveying, sometimes we need to determine the angles. So that we are having some other methods to determine these angles. So namely compass, theodolite, box, sextant and ranking. So these are the 3 common methods used for the measurement of angles. So in this method of measurement, so it is only based upon the 2 method of measurement. So first one is included angles. So already we plot one figure. So in that we are having A, B, B, C, C, D and D, E and E, F. So these are all the links or maybe considered as a line. But in this included angle, we found only the angle between the 2 links are straight lines. So likewise here AB and BC we are having one included angle. Or if you are considering BC and CD, it is having one more included angle theta 2. So if you are considering CD and DE, so we are having theta 3 as an included angle. So this is one method of finding the measurement of angles, that is included angles. So other one is the deflection angles between successive lines. So already the same plot, but we are making the angle in the opposite way. That is, so the extension of AB line with the line BC. So it gives the deflection angles, that is delta 1. If you are considering BC and CD, the extension of BC with respect to CD, so it gives delta 2. So likewise, so we are determining the two angles. One is the included angle, another one is the deflection angles between successive lines. So then basic common method of angular surveying, that is with the help of instrument compass. So here it is an instrument, essentially it consists of freely suspended magnetic needle on a pivot which can move over the graduated scale. So with the help of it is already indicated in the figure. So it is only used for determining or measuring the angles. So if you are using the other method, that is chain surveying, we found only the linear distances, so that the angle included between the adjacent lines should be also measured for making a plan or maybe a map. We need some angles. So for that we are using this kind of instruments, that is a compass, okay, for determining the angles. So here this is the instrument we are used for determining the method of used for the angles. So here it is the most suitable type. So in that compass surveying, it is also known as a prismatic compass. So normally we have one magnetic field or the magnetic needle on a pivot. So in between we are having the pivot, already mentioned in orange color. Then we are having one needle, that is a magnetic needle. So over it is placed on the pivot. So the one more important points are prism. At the same time we are right end we are having the eye van, other end we are having the object van. So from the eye van we can easily view the object where it is kept on the left end of the compass. So we are placing the object in the object van, okay. Then through the eye van, through the prism, we can easily view the angles, in what angle it is deflected from the horizontal position. So based upon the position, we can make a note for the observation of angles. So this is because of having the instrument. So in that we are having the focusing stand, sunglasses for viewing the angles, pivot, box, needle. So these are the some of the instruments or some of the parts used in the compass, okay. So description. So here the needle is balanced over a pivot in a circular box of 85 mm to 100 mm in diameter. So needle is nothing but here, so we are having the graduated ring, okay, and we are placing the needle in this ring. So automatically if the movement of this ring automatically it provides the angle, okay. So here we are used for only the dimension of determining the angles. At the same time, a graduated ring, it is made up of aluminum. So aluminum, it is only attached in the magnetic needle. At the same time, the box is covered by a glass lid. The overall box it is covered by a glass lid, or here it is mentioned glass cover. At the same time, object van and I van are provided at diametrically opposite ends. So both the ends we have the vans. So from one end we are having I van, another end we are having object van. Okay. So I van carries a reflecting prism which can be raised or lowered as desired. So based upon the conditions, we can raise or lower the I van or prism. Okay. So from the vertical object van is provided at the middle of the left corner. Okay. At the same time, the graduation in the aluminum ring are made in the clockwise direction, starting with 0 degree at south and 180 degree at north with inverted makings. So based upon that only we are able to view the angles. So here the triangular prism fitted below the eye slit enables magnification of reading to shoot observer's eye. So based upon this prism arrangement, the compass is named as prismatic compass. Okay. The compass is fixed over a tripod with ball and socket arrangement. Tripod in the sense we are having the 3 rods for hanging this one. Okay, that is why it is known as a tripod. So this is about the prismatic compass. So these are the explanation. Then working principle. The magnetic field aligns itself with the magnetic meridian, that is north and south pole direction. The line of sight is actually the line joining the point, that is object van and I van. This angle is actually between the north and south pole direction and the line on the ground. The angle made by the line with the NS, that is north and south pole direction, is called as bearing of the line. So here it is used, the compass is used to measure the bearings of the different lines from which the angle included between the adjacent links are computed. Okay. So here we are having some steps to how to take the reading from the compass. So these are some basic steps. Then next topic is leveling. So leveling, it is also the surveying method used to determine the level of points or maybe objects with reference to the selected datum. The important specification is here selected datum. Why? Because we are having a different level of datum in the earth surfaces. So we are considering the datum, that is reference point. So based upon the reference point, we are calculating the distance to the objects, that is known as leveling. So it is also used to set out the engineering works. So based upon the leveling, we are also providing the information for drawing a plan or maybe a maps. Okay. Then the uses of leveling is to determine the difference in levels of points or objects. Then the points contour map of an area. Then third one, to obtain cross sections of roads, canals, buildings, etc. To obtain the depth cutting and filling in engineering works. To establish points or erect machinery or construct a building component at a predetermined level. So these are some of the uses of leveling. So this is also the important term used for the while surveying. Okay. Next, the important terms used in the leveling are benchmark and reduced level. So here the benchmark is nothing but it is a surveyor's mark cut on a stone or rock or any reference point used to indicate the level. So already it is indicated in a datum level. Then next term is reduced level. So reduced level of a point is the level of point with respect to the level of permanent future or a benchmark. So it's again giving the same reference point like datum. It may be on the earth surfaces. So it indicates whether the point is above or below the reference point. So leveling, it is only applicable if you are having the reference point or a datum. So for leveling, we are used some of the instruments. So number one, leveling instruments. Number two, leveling staff. So some of the leveling instruments are telescope, eyepiece, focusing knob, level tube, cross bevel, foot screws, leveling head, diaphragm, and ray shed. So these are the some of the leveling instruments are used for getting the level from a datum or maybe a reference point. So these are the some of the basics about the surveying. So upon this we are concluded. I am concluded this one the in unit 1 first part, that is surveying. So thank you for your cooperation and do well for the next exam. Okay, thank you.